if there's a father that he's got a son or daughter that wants to take it to the next level, that he thinks has the ability and really wants them to play college ball, and who knows what that next level is, what advice would you give him?
I've given a lot of recruiting talks at a lot of different baseball camps. And the thing that I always come back to is you've got to be honest with yourself about how it is the player's decision. With that being said, I fully understand the saying, if I'm doing the paying, I'm doing the same, right? However, you owe it to your child to help them make an informed decision. So if you would have put me on the campus of the University of Illinois with 30,000 students, I wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks, right? So I probably would have had way too good a time in those 2 weeks and never seen a classroom, or I would have gotten lost, because I didn't know where I was going. Wouldn't even made it to a classroom because I couldn't find it. You got to think about geography. You've got to think about financials. You have got to think about academics. I would get emails as a college coach from other coaches promoting their players, or from parents, which the number one just cardinal rule, don't email a coach on behalf of your player. If they're 17, 18 years old, they can do it themselves, right? It's a really good exercise. I would get emails with the wrong name, like, because they're just copy and paste, doing it too fast. Then I would get emails saying, hey, I'm really interested in engineering. I'd like to come see your school. We don't have engineering, So make sure it's in an academic discipline that they want. Make sure it makes financial sense for the family, because going $120,000 in debt to go to a school 8 hours away where you don't want to be, just so your parents can say you played college baseball, is not good. That's not good for the rest of your life, right? Because the kid's miserable too. And then athletically really comes last. If you're a good fit for a school, you got to be honest with them and say, hey, here's my specs, here's my this, here's my that, here's some video. You make the decision, coach, right? And there's a difference between being persistent and being a pest. But you don't need a recruiting service. You literally create a Gmail account that is first name, last name, and your graduation year at gmail.com, and you email the schools you're interested in, and do your research. You've got the research right here. There's no reason you can't be researching schools. If you're interested in Michigan State, you're in the state of Michigan. Do they have the major you want? Probably. Do they have a fit for you? I don't know. Go on the school's roster. You play the outfield. They've got 2 returning outfielders that started every game last year as sophomores, and they got 3 more that are freshmen. You're probably not going to go there and play the outfield, right? Like, that's just the reality of it. So live in reality. Don't live in a dream world. It's okay to want things, but as soon as you find out they're not a fit, you got to cross them off and move on, right? And so I think a lot of people get caught up in the name on the shirt. And I said this to a group, did a recruiting talk, and I said, parents, number 1 rule, don't be a shirt snob. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? Don't be we see it. I'm a college coach, I'm standing there, and you got your polo with your school's name or logo on it. And the parents walk by, and they think they're really slick. And they walk by when you're scouting, they do the whole shirt check, oh, who's this? Oh, who's that? Who's that? Oh, D3, my kid's not going there. My kid's really too good for that. You never know what's going to happen. And I will let you in a little secret. College coaches of every sport gossip more than anyone, any demographic of person you want to put out there. So coaches like to say, you never know who's watching. And some parents don't think that's true. You would never see myself, Rob Fournier at Wabash Valley College, Brian Smiley at Indiana State, somewhat like there's a group of 5 of us, we would never go to the same event because there's always stuff to go to recruit, right? Can't be everywhere. So the guys that all worked for each other, worked with each other, trust each other, we go different places and we fire up the scanners on Monday. And it's from it was like a JUCO, a D3, a D1, a Power 5 D1. And it was like, hey, did you see so-and-so? Yes. And he acted like a clown during infield, and he made his mom carry his bag. And this guy threw trash on the field, and this guy yelled at an umpire. Oh, and by the way, this kid's parents are a problem and you don't want them in your program. We talk about those things because it's your buddy's job that's on the line, especially at those higher levels. So the number one thing I would say is stay out of the player's way and don't do anything to make the coach not recruit the family, because they're not only recruiting the player, they're recruiting the family.
Yeah, you know what? I get it. There's nothing worse than just that crazy parent. The kid could be incredibly talented, just an absolute stud. But in the coach's mind, if that mom or dad's a nightmare, that could very much be the game changer in them not even recruiting them, right?
Guess what? That nightmare doesn't end in high school. That nightmare keeps going. That's the reality of it. Red flags. You've seen a kid that's been to 3 different high schools and played on 5 different summer teams. That's a red flag. Like, there's no staying power. There can be reasons. The parents can have reasons. But guess what? I hate to break it to parents, and this is where I'm going to have a lot of fun when my kids get older, no matter what they decide to do. They're special to me. They're not special. There's a million of them out there. They're not that special in the grand scheme of things in the world, right? And I know that's probably a hard truth for a lot of people. They're very special to me. Well, I know what they can do. Yeah, but that person doesn't. And there's a lot of other ones they can go get. So if you have bought your kid hours upon hours of private lessons for their sport, but never hired a private tutor for an academic subject, your priorities are out of whack. And I know that it's 95% of them have probably hired a private coach, but not hired a private tutor. And when I'm coaching junior college, there were 2 players getting recruited by the same Division II school, very similar abilities, and the same school's recruiting both of them. They wanted to go together. It was going to be awesome. And one kid had a cumulative GPA of a 3.01, and one had a cumulative GPA of a 2.99. You know what the difference was in that 0.02%?
What?
$10,000 a year in academic money.
Wow.
That's real. And it's one of those, the professor said that I could just get a B if I didn't even come to the final, but like I would have a chance to get an A. Well, you should have got the A. You cost yourself 20 grand. And so really taking academics seriously, in addition to taking athletics seriously, it's not just a scare tactic by coaches, man. It's real. It's going to affect you financially, and it could possibly affect like where you get to go to school.